set an NFL record for the worst completion percentage.
This is a game you need to win. This is a divisional matchup against a team you should beat. This is how you stack up wins.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of i75Live. We are on episode 12.
Yes, sir.
It was another great week. I know you were over at the house on Monday night to finish it out.
Watching some of the MLB games. Got the Monday night game too. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. Going into this week, I think I was kind of gone all last week, so I wasn't able to watch. I know game 2 of the Yankee series was last night. Aaron Judge finally hit a home run.
Yeah,
in the
he's
postseason.
been having a really, really down postseason so far, but the Yankees look really good.
The Yankees look good. Their pitching also looks good, and unfortunately, I think Cleveland is kind of running into how much money they've spent for their team and kind of running out of gas. But I think they're going back to Cleveland. Mm-hmm. You never know what home games can do to energize a team, so we'll see. But Aaron Judge finally got going. Stanton's hitting home runs like crazy right now. I think that's a little bit surprising to some people.
Definitely. We had a good week of college football again.
We had a very good week. NFL was awesome. There's a lot of great games this week as well, and we're going to talk about them. But college football, Alabama almost did it again.
Oh, they had me worried for a second. Oh,
almost. If it wasn't for them botching that field goal to would that have tied it or would that have put them in the lead?
God, I wasn't watching then, but I think it would have put them in the lead. But either way, their kicker missed it, and then they score a late touchdown.
Yeah.
And they were still down by a little bit, and they get the onside kick, but they just couldn't move down the field. Yeah. So close. God, so close. It's got to sting if you're a South Carolina fan.
Alabama too. You were almost losing to unranked teams back to back. And both, again, this also shows how freaking strong the SEC is.
This is the most competitive, I think, as a whole that I've seen the SEC in a long time. And yes, I know they've made some additions to teams. I think Mississippi State was added in not too long ago, and then you got Texas and Oklahoma, so that helps. But even the teams that haven't really been competitive recently, Missouri is just turning it up. I know they lost a few weeks ago, but
Vanderbilt, as we know, they just beat Kentucky, and Kentucky has been Kentucky's
beat
really
Ole Miss.
Kentucky
LSU beat Ole Miss.
Yeah, so it's very, very competitive. When you really look at the conferences and you look across I think a lot of people could make an argument that if all 12 teams in the playoffs were SEC teams,
I don't think anyone would complain.
It would be just as much fun as throwing some of these other teams in there. The Big Ten, though, I know Penn State is in the top 3. Little surprising because I know their quarterback has kind of gotten some crap for not being able to win big games.
Their defense
is very good. Ohio State and Oregon, we're going to talk about them a little bit.
Came down to the wire.
It was a great game. I'd put that game up there with the Alabama-Georgia game. There was a coaching masterclass that a lot of people are mad about, but I have zero problem with it.
Nope.
Knowing the rules, knowing the situation, you outcoached your opponent when it mattered most. I don't have a problem with that. So we'll talk about that.
It's not like Dan Lanning made the loophole. He just took advantage of it.
He knew the rules. It reminded me of what Bill Belichick used to do. Yeah. And that's what great coaches do. They go over every situation possible. And yes, if you're sitting in those meetings, why are we talking about this? Why are we going over this?
You never know.
Reasons like this, and they won a game because of it against the top 3 team. So that was really awesome. And then like we said, MLB's kicking off. I know a lot of people are saying that the best possible thing that baseball can have right now would be the Yankees versus the Dodgers with all the big names, with Shohei, with Mookie Betts, and then Aaron Judge, all these guys.
It'd be really interesting.
I'm also
Lindor
hearing,
too.
And Lindor as well. I'm hearing though that it'd be great if it was the subway rivalry with the Mets and the Giants and the Yankees.
I don't know the exact date. I know it's happened before, but it's been a long time since it's happened. And this year specifically, the Mets look really good. They've gotten hot really quick. Really since for like the last 2 or 3 months, they've been one of the best teams in baseball.
Well, they got
Their
hot.
Pitching's great.
Yeah, they got hot to make the playoffs, to make the push to make the playoffs, and then they continue to stay. The last couple games against the Braves to get in, that was great. And then going in and beating the Phillies the way they did, and the Phillies. All my Phillies fans who complained about the Braves and, who cares? You got the first round, but get over it.
Bye week is not a good thing.
You got hit with the same thing. So I think bye week, I mean, we saw it this year. The Dodgers were the first team since they changed all this stuff to win a series, having the bye week.
Yep. And that's just because they have a Monstars lineup.
And
but,
that's not a surprise. Like, I think they've got to look at it. They've got to make some changes because this isn't what you want. I mean, baseball, the way it's structured, the way teams can build with practically unlimited money, they need their big market teams to advance to the playoffs.
In my opinion, baseball's in a really bad spot right now. They're in kind of not limbo, but in a very awkward situation. In my opinion, I really think they need to shorten the regular season a little bit. There is no reason that they need to be playing for 6 months out of the year before you get to the playoffs. That's ridiculous. And then to have the playoffs so short, it seems like every other playoff picture, I think, the NFL, the NHL, NBA, all lasts at least like a month and a half of straight playoffs.
Yeah, and the
baseball's
NBA,
like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, and the NBA have like 3 days in between games, and then NFL obviously because it's football, you have weeks in between games.
And they're still playing 7-game series every single playoff series, except obviously NFL. But that's what makes the NFL so special, I think, is that you one bad game and you're out.
Yeah.
But baseball's different. There's so many different guys, and then like pitching. You got 5 guys that go in a pitching rotation every time. And so, it really needs to change.
Well, it just makes it, too, to where I think no matter what, I can kind of say the same thing about basketball. Mm-hmm. No matter what, I think the better team is going to win. Yeah. To where with football, we see it all the time.
Sometimes
we saw
we
saw it with Vanderbilt and Alabama. Do you really, really think that Vanderbilt is better than Alabama?
9 times out of 10, they probably don't beat them.
Exactly. And that's the thing with baseball is you can get a team like Cleveland right now to just, I wouldn't say get lucky because they've had a good year.
Yeah.
But if say they win, 1 game out of their next 2 home games, it doesn't matter because in the end of the day, the Yankees are just a better team. They have better pitching. They're going to win a series, and that's what I think makes football so special is. You can have any given, and we've seen it in Super Bowls. We've seen it in playoff games. We've seen it in college this year specifically. Any team can come in and you can't do anything about it. It's not, we got another game tomorrow, so let's fix it and run it back.
Yeah, I know. Baseball really needs a salary cap too. I know that's a very hot take, but seriously, I'm tired of seeing the same teams over and over spend like $1 billion+ to get the stacked lineup they have. And meanwhile, you have Cleveland, a complete outlier. I think we were talking about this on Monday night. Cleveland, their entire roster, their payroll is, I think
it's like $109 million or somewhere in that.
The
ballpark.
Yankees are paying, I think, like triple that for their entire roster, but not even that. They're paying Juan Soto alone more than that.
Yeah.
And Judge.
Yeah.
And Cole.
Yeah.
It's all 3 of them. It's wild. And Stanton, probably.
Yeah.
You can go down the line of people they're paying money. Same with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And even the Mets, too. They have a really expensive lineup, too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is, and I honestly don't think it's going to change. What I really think they need to change, though, is the playoffs. Something needs to happen. It's bad. Even the seeding of if you beat so-and-so, it doesn't matter. If you're the higher seed, you're still playing this team. It's just the whole system, I think, is flawed, and it's not what MLB wants.
No, baseball's in a bad spot.
So I want to talk a little bit more. I know we mentioned it, the Ohio State-Oregon game.
Yeah.
For those of you that didn't see it, I'm sure you saw people complaining on social media, the head coach of Oregon threw out, I don't think he'll admit it, but
he did. In
his press conference?
He didn't blatantly say that he did it on purpose, but he was asked that question, if you guys like game plan for a situation like that, and he was like, absolutely. We sit in a meeting and we have a situation like this drawn up and we go over it so that everyone's on the same page, and if it happens in a game, we're prepared. And you saw it.
I think it was
perfection.
It was a coaching masterclass.
Yeah.
They were able to take the risk of killing clock and giving a 5-yard penalty and hoping that, now I will say it kind of would have backfired because if they would have completed a 25-yard pass to put them in field goal range, clock is stopped. I know the first down would have also stopped the clock.
And you have an extra guy on the field to try and complete a pass against.
Exactly. So I think you do take that risk, but the risk reward of how the rule is written was played out perfectly. Yeah.
There wasn't much time left.
We're seeing why it was so perfect because NCAA literally came out on Tuesday.
They're investigating.
Yeah, they invest that. So
give me a break.
It's kind of, it reminds me of the whole Kenny Pickett thing when he did the whole fake slide thing, and literally the next week it was gone and banned. Now, I will say, though, I didn't know that in the NFL, the time goes back.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that till I looked it up because I thought it was the same in the NFL. So I looked that up, and it is. I don't know why it's not the same in college, But I guarantee you, within the next couple weeks, that rule will be changed to where if it happens, the clock will go back to wherever it was. But coaching masterclass, Oregon, they were able to beat a top 5 or a top 3 team, and
they were number 2.
They were number 2. Now Oregon's number 2. I don't know where Ohio State went. I'm sure not too far because it was
probably like 4.
Yeah, well, they're still a very good team. They have a great offense. I think their quarterback played very good for the amount of crap that he's gotten this year.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
if he's going to be able to rise to the occasion and play some of these big teams. The receiver out of, I can't remember his name, but he's kind of like the Alabama guy who's like 18 years old for Ohio State. Dude's a highlight reel. I mean, he's amazing. So Ohio State's going to be fine. Their defense is fine. I know Ryan Day, though, he's got a terrible record against top 5 teams or top 10 teams.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see them play Penn State later this year. That's going to be such a good game.
Yeah.
It could end up determining a playoff picture.
Well, that, and it could also, the way that Oregon has kind of gone into that conference, it's probably going to be Oregon, Ohio State, or Oregon, Penn State for the Big Ten championship. So Ohio State's got to win that game if they want to they want to have a rematch against Oregon and maybe make the play. They'll probably still make the playoffs even if they don't. Just because
if they lose to both Oregon and Penn State, I think they probably finish around 10 or 11 seed. So they'll still make it. They're too good to leave out unless they just get completely blown out by Penn State. Then that's a different story.
I agree.
But more on college football. I want to talk about this because this is really cool. Navy and Army both ranked for the first time since 1960. And they both still play Notre Dame in a few weeks. I am praying that it happens because if they both beat Notre Dame, it'll be them because, they play at the end of the year anyways.
Yeah.
They'll play.
Yeah.
And then they'll play again the next week for their conference championship. Would be awesome.
Well, and it's cool too because Navy and Army, I know we've mentioned it like when our guest Vanny was here, they're some of the only schools that didn't use...
Don't take transfers.
They can't though because of how their school is structured. Yep. So I think that also just speaks to...
And then Clemson's somehow in that picture, too.
Now, Clemson has figured it out since they got blown out against Georgia week 1. I know
they've been playing better.
Klubnik's been playing better. His stats look really good. But yes, Navy and Army not using and doing what they're doing and like running offenses that are just kind of like a dying breed when it comes to football.
I love Army's quarterback so much. Yeah. He's awesome. He does everything. He reminds me a lot of Taysom Hill. Like if he makes it to the league, I could see him being a player like that, where he's just a gadget guy that can do everything. Yeah. Throw, run, block, do whatever you need. Yeah. I think, what was it, a few weeks ago, he had like 200 rushing yards? He had like 100 passing yards and like 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, and
ridiculous.
One of our buddies that we, he was looking at the odds of Heisman winners, and his odds just continue to rise up. So I think it's great. It's great for those schools and to prove that, hey, you get the right coach in here, you get the right players, you recruit the right players. Yep. I think it is still possible to win like that.
Absolutely.
In the new recruiting.
Well, look at Indiana too.
Yeah.
Indiana's 6-0. And did you see the little snippet that their head coach gave earlier this week?
I did not.
So he was asked how he's sustaining so much success at a school like Indiana, who's not necessarily a big name in the grand scheme of college football, at least not recently. And he just goes, "I win, plain and simple." And just short silence, says, "Google me."
Yeah, I mean,
I guarantee you that quote right there is just getting even more and more guys to at least look into them.
Well, you have to, and if that is what your philosophy is going to be, you have to. It's the same thing. I could say the same thing with Clemson. Now, like we said, Clemson is coming back after getting blown out, and they've kind of turned their season around to where it could have been really, really bad.
Yeah,
but that's what he's going to have to do if he wants to keep his job. But I want to football, NFL football.
This was an awesome week.
The Lions and the Cowboys.
I loved watching this game.
The Lions literally, it was like watching
the entire
them
fourth
toy
quarter
with their food. I mean,
a lion does, ironically.
Yeah, I mean, it was putting O-linemen on hook and ladder plays.
The entire fourth quarter was literally like the back of their playbook where they have just a bunch of joke plays. They're like, all right, if we're up by like 40, we're gonna run all of these plays, and it was. I had a blast.
It was crazy, and it also speaks to kind of what the Cowboys are. That they are literally a broken record. I saw someone, I think it was Skip Bayless talking about it,
Yeah.
to where it's
He's a big
literally
Cowboys fan too.
it's the same thing every single year because they're the Cowboys. They get all this attention. They get we've got the star on our helmet. We're gonna be good, and then we make the playoffs, but we get blown out and every year in the first round. And it's the same record every single
Broken
year.
record.
But to me though, it's funny.
I
enjoy it.
I enjoy it
honestly,
too.
I think a lot of people enjoy it as well.
Especially because to end the season last year, Jerry Jones came out and said, "We're going all in." You know,
Brother, where is all in?
he made like I think
You paid two people.
He paid Eric Kendricks, linebacker, to come and play for them, and then he paid Zeke. He brought Ezekiel Elliott back, and that was about it.
Great.
It was about it.
And then it took you forever to pay CD. He wasn't even at camp, and that I think we are still seeing the.
Well, that also probably hurt them because they also waited to pay Dak. And those are two huge contracts. And when you don't know how much money you're going to be forking over to them, it leaves you in a vulnerable position where you can't pay guys like Derrick Henry, who works out in Texas and wanted to go to Dallas, apparently, and nothing. They didn't even offer him. And he's making what? He's not making that much in Baltimore. You're telling me they couldn't afford that contract? And that he wouldn't make them 10 times better right now?
I also, what I think is funny too, is we have this later, we're talking about some of the trades. When they traded Amari Cooper to the Browns, they traded him for a 6th-round draft pick. Yeah. Guess what the Bills gave up to get Amari Cooper? A 2nd-round draft pick. Oof. So again, just shows Jerry Jones, GM.
Why they traded him.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of can get the season. I think maybe he wanted out, but it just goes to show that Jerry Jones. I think you think you know what you're doing, and you think you're good at it. But let's look at your track record since you won a couple Super Bowls with the guys that you had back in the 90s and 80s. You haven't done crap since then.
It's been like 40 years.
And there's so many examples that I think I can pinpoint on it to why you are the reason that this team is the laughingstock and is out of all the NFL fans as a whole. If you are not a Cowboys fan, I think whenever they lose like this or whenever they lose in the playoffs, you enjoy it.
Relish it a little bit more, and we'll get into more about why Jerry Jones is a laughingstock in general, based on some comments he made to a reporter that is literally his job is to report on the decision making and progress of the Cowboys team. But I don't know, like you said, Cowboys are really one dimensional. We've been talking about it for a while.
Their run game is non-existent.
It's bad,
and even their pass game, they have literally one guy.
That's it.
They have CD Lamb.
And I said this at the start of the year. I really thought this was the year that the Cowboys crumble. I think I got some backlash for it. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs, but I mean, how do they look now? It's not getting any easier. Washington looks good. They still have to play them twice. The Eagles and Cowboys always play competitive games. The Eagles are starting to play a little bit better, I guess.
Yeah.
And
the Giants, like we've also kind of said, they're showing
defense.
They are showing to be competitive. Yeah. They are showing that Daniel Jones, I don't think, is as bad as everyone is making him out to be.
He's been having a really, for his standards, how he was playing before he tore his ACL and got that contract, he's playing like that. Yeah. And that was a decent quarterback. Good quarterback.
Yeah.
And you can win games with that, especially when the Giants defense, yes, they lost this week, but their defense looks good.
I mean, if it wasn't for that first quarter Joe Burrow 60-yard run, that's a really, really close game.
Oh, absolutely.
But no, back to the Lions, though, because I want to touch. I think the Lions, Goff having 300-plus yards and St. Brown only accounting for 37 receiving yards. I know he had that kind of a garbage time touchdown. Yeah. It shows how good that offense is.
They're so deep on both sides of the ball. And I think it sucks. It really sucks that Aiden Hutchinson got hurt how he did. Gruesome injury. Yeah. God, I hate seeing that.
I mean, he was playing. I know this was your pick to win Defensive Player of the Year, and he was playing he was leading the league in sacks.
Now you give it to T.J. Watt.
Now T.J. Watt is the front runner for it. I think it was going to be those two guys, and maybe Max Crosby thrown in there. Yeah. But T.J. Watt, Aiden Hutchinson, they were battling for it, and now it's his to lose. But yes, it does really suck. It also brings to, I know you have kind of said, do they trade for Hassan Reddick now?
It was a team that I said was going to be interested in Hassan Reddick anyways to put him on the opposite side of Hutchinson. But now I think even more so. You need to at least look into it. Because I think the Jets, Hassan Reddick just hired Drew Rosenhaus as his new agent. He fired his last one after this whole thing with the Jets kind of prolonged and kept going on. But the Jets gave him permission it's a short window to facilitate a trade. And I really, really think that the Lions need to jump on this. In my opinion, as a Bears fan, I would love to see the Bears, look into it, but I just don't think he's the type of personality that the Bears bring into that locker room. That's just not how they roll, never has been. But the Lions, I think Dan Campbell could set
Yeah.
that man straight,
Yeah.
really. And he would do a lot of good things for them. A lot of what Aiden Hutchinson does,
Yeah.
really.
Now, to go on to my team,
I know you're happy.
So
This is what you wanted.
watching the game, I definitely was a little disappointed because I think it looked a lot worse than when you really break it down.
Yeah.
When you really look at it, you look at what he did, the defense he was playing, because we talked about it going into it. I think Drake Maye played really, really good for the amount of hits
Absolutely.
and everything that he was kind of dealing with.
I was impressed.
I was impressed too. I think he used his legs awesome. That's something that Jacoby couldn't do. So he made up for our offensive line not being very good.
He
So
hung in the pocket. Made
that
some
was
tough throws.
his. I think his footwork. I saw Lolowski talking about his footwork and how he was sliding, up into the pocket, outside of the pocket. So that was really cool to see as a quarterback.
Absolutely.
And I also think that those plays. Like I said, those plays make up for your O-line not being as good. And him being able to do that created a lot of the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allen type, garbage plays of he had 1-2 Hunter Henry that went for like 20 yards after doing that.
Making something
and
out of
then on
nothing.
top of that, he had 3 passing touchdowns. And that's the
Yeah.
first time a rookie quarterback has come into his first start throwing 3 passing touchdowns since like 1950.
Yeah.
So that was great to see. And after the game, after seeing all the stats and seeing how many times he did get hit, I was pretty hey, we get a good O-line. We get the right guys in here to throw the ball to. His deep ball was on the money,
Honestly,
55-yard pass.
He was.
And that's kind of what he was good at coming out of where he can throw a good deep ball out of college. I liked it. And I know the scoreboard really didn't reflect that against a team that
This is a top 5 team in the
it's a top
league.
5 team. CJ
general
Stroud's
consensus,
awesome.
yeah.
They're going to win their division. They're going to go to the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if they were in the AFC Championship game or the
wouldn't be
Super
either.
Bowl.
Yeah.
So to do that against a team of that caliber,
They were without Nico Collins, but still.
Yes.
They showed a lot of promise. And for someone that was considered to be the most raw talent coming out of the draft, quarterback-wise, he had the most to work on. He looked really good. Arguably, he looked the best out of these quarterbacks in their first start.
I
He
agree.
looked the best.
I agree. So that was cool to see. Yes, we lost, and yes, I hate the whole moral victories and
This
all
is
that.
absolutely a moral
This
victory,
is
though.
absolutely a moral victory, and I will take it for our rookie quarterback being thrown to the wolves against a very good Texans team.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. Next game though, Bears-Jags. I know you were happy about this. I know it's the Jags, and people are going to say, "Oh, well, the Jags suck this year." I don't care.
We don't choose who we play on the schedule. All we can do is beat the teams we're supposed to beat. And man, did they beat them bad. We were without 3 starters in our secondary, and we still locked down outside of and the Jaguars, don't get me wrong, I saw they dropped a ton of touchdown passes, but still, the offense looked good, man. I think the offensive line, yes, again, it's Jacksonville. Although Jacksonville doesn't have a horrible defensive line, the offensive line looked good. Caleb looked in control of the offense, making checks at the line, pointing out blitzes and just letting it fly all over the field. It was great.
Well,
I'm
and,
excited.
Komet had 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen had 2 touchdowns. DJ Moore could have had a touchdown. He missed
So
on that deep
close.
pass. But I think, you could see that this is what we said. You need to consistently get better each
Stack
week with
these
this
wins up.
offense. And that is what he is doing. And I give him a lot of credit because it could have been real easy for him to just be like, you know what, screw this.
Yep.
I'm just not going to deal with
Start
it.
sulking.
And that is not what he's done. And the other thing, we were talking about this on Monday night. I think you could say what you want about him, and you can say that, he painted his fingernails and all this crap. The passion to me, when I see him make a play, whether that's a passing touchdown, whether that's a run in for, 10 yards for a first down, the passion is there. And I would take that over someone like a Kyler Murray, over someone like an Aaron Rodgers, who
kinda
whenever they
nonchalant.
make a mistake, it's looking at the ceiling, like sulking, of rolling the eyes, of putting your hands up like that. To me, body language is a very, very important thing, especially in sports, especially when you have
my God,
cameras all around you.
Yep.
And Caleb Williams, to me, yes, you have your moments. And I know he had the whole thing with CJ Stroud, and that kind of went viral a little bit. But his passion on the field for what he does, I would take that 100 out of 100 times over some of these other guys right now.
And yeah, that's a great point. I would very much agree. And I think he learned a lot from, that's another thing I give him credit for, is he's mature way beyond his real age. His parents pretty much groomed him into being an NFL quarterback from like since he was a child. He had his own apartment in Washington, D.C. for his senior year. He was on his own. And then he went through college with NIL. So he learned how all that works, how to be a professional. And yes, he had some blunders on, national television and with the media in college. And I really think he learned from that because he had the game of his career, a very short career, but he had the game of his career on Sunday. And what was the first thing he said when he was asked in the post-game press conference how he felt about the game? I can't turn over the ball like that. He went straight to his mistakes and how he can get better from this.
And I'll take that, like I said, kind of another person who did the same thing, Aaron Rodgers.
Dude.
As soon as he gets to the podium, he's blaming?
And yes,
blaming
he's
his
been in the
receivers
league
for not running the right route, not running. I've got a whole thing about Aaron Rodgers. We'll talk about that later.
No, this was awesome, dude. And I think he had 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was 1 bad ball and a knee away from 6 touchdowns and no turnovers.
Yeah.
And like 300 yards.
Yeah.
And then, oh wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm very excited. We have a bye week right now, and then the week after is, I think, a game that everyone is going to be tuned into.
The Washington game, correct?
1 versus 2. Yeah, we played Jaden
flexed.
Daniels. It got flexed. It was originally a 1:00 game, and now it is the prime time afternoon window with Romo and Nance calling the game.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
NFL just doesn't do that.
No, they don't just do that. So they must think this is going to be a really good game. This is a statement.
Yeah.
Really, I think I know that, as a professional, you're not supposed to listen to the outside noise, but it's impossible to completely ignore it. I have to feel like the Bears know how important this game is, and I also have to feel that the defense is going to look to make a statement for Caleb. I really hope. And it's going to be a great game. I am not going to take my eyes off the TV the entire time.
Next game, though, that was huge offensive scoring. The Bucs and the Saints.
The over hit in this game with, I think 10 minutes left in the second
quarter.
Well,
I think the over hit just because of the Bucs offense.
Yeah.
So
the over hit, with the Bucs alone.
Yeah, but the Bucs are, this was also, I think, a statement game for them coming off of the loss against Atlanta.
Yeah,
in
Carr
overtime.
wasn't playing, but still, everyone on the Saints defense was healthy for the most part.
Yeah. So,
they looked good.
I know the Saints were almost winning at one point, too. They kind of came back.
They scored 17 unanswered points.
Yeah.
Yes, they had a punt return that helped, but they came back. They stormed back, and the Bucs just ended it.
Baker's really good. Chris Godwin had a hell of a game. I think he had 2 touchdowns, 150 some odd yards or something crazy
catches.
like that.
Jeez.
So, Baker and them, they're legit. And this also proves to our point of why the Falcons beating them was so important for the Falcons.
Absolutely.
Them beating the Panthers as well, they went on a 3-0 stretch. This is what we said last week. They needed to win this game. They had to. I know it was against Carolina. I know, they're going to win. No. It was almost like a trap game coming off of that Tampa Bay game.
And Carolina's got nothing to lose.
No, they don't. Mm-hmm. And they needed to win that game. But that division, we also kind of have a little segment that we're going to talk about. The NFC right now is crazy.
Loaded.
Let's finish these couple games. Commanders, Ravens. This was another great game.
Well, I think for Washington, this proved that they belong. They can compete with the best of the best.
Yeah.
This was not a fluke. Washington is as good as we think they are.
Yeah.
And I think they're a few plays away from actually beating Baltimore.
Yeah.
And Baltimore played, damn near a perfect game. Lamar has had back-to-back games with 300 passing yards for the first time in his career, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So he's looking,
and
really good.
Derrick Henry is on another level right now.
Derrick Henry is going to hit my over of rushing touchdowns in week 8.
It's not even halfway through the season, and I think he's at 8 touchdowns, and his over/under was what?
10.5.
10.5?
10.5.
Yeah, so that's...
It's free money.
Yeah, you scored on that one. But yes, this was a great game. I think Jaden Daniels proved that what he was doing was not a fluke.
Oh.
They're going to be competitive.
Yep.
I know they just lost one of their big defensive linemen, though, for the season.
Jonathan Allen is out for the year.
So that does suck.
They did sign, you remember the defensive tackle out of Illinois, the big one?
Yes.
So they have him as his replacement. I think his name's Johnny Newton. Very good player. So I think they'll be okay, but that's a tough loss.
It does suck.
They were playing without Brian Robinson Jr. in that game. So you could make the argument that they may end up like either going into overtime or win that game if they have their full running game.
Yeah.
Something that can.
I
force
forgot
the
that he didn't
Ravens.
play either. So
And that's
yeah.
a huge part of their offense.
Yeah.
So if you have him running down and then you're forcing the defense to stack the box a little bit more and allow Jaden Daniels to pass the ball a bit more, we could be looking at this game in a much different light, honestly.
Yeah.
And it was a great game though. I loved watching
I
it.
agree. Last one, we're going to touch on this. Will Levis is a generational meme.
He is on a run of no other. It's incredible the amount of he doubled down this week. He had like 3 screenshot moments.
He
Perfect.
tore an ACL of a ball boy. He hit the Spider-Man celebration because all these guys are getting in trouble
Finished
for
the
doing
game with
guns.
95 passing yards, by the way, and he's throwing up Spider-Man.
It's so funny, but no, he is on a generational run, and it's hilarious. I think it's like, what's going to happen this week? What picture are we going to get this week?
Wait.
What is he going to do
It makes
this
me
week?
want to tune into Titans games just for that. But on the
agree.
other side of the ball, Joe Flacco did it again, man. He continues to win games that he honestly shouldn't win.
I will
Late
rest
game
my case.
heroics.
Joe Flacco needs to get traded to the Dolphins.
Dude, I mean, we've got another one that could get traded to the Dolphins later, but that makes a lot of sense.
I just think you put Joe Flacco on that offense with the talent they have. Again, we've said it. They did it with
How
Cleveland.
do you justify not even looking into it?
I will say, you never know. I guarantee you they have.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if they haven't.
Well, what if the Colts are kind of hanging on to him now that he's winning games?
I don't blame
and
him.
They're thinking, hey, Anthony Richardson is still the youngest quarterback in the league. He does not have much experience at all under his belt. This could be beneficial to him. And who's to say that Anthony Richardson wasn't available to play? He said he was their emergency QB for this week, but who's to say that he wasn't, capable of starting?
Yeah.
And they still went with Joe.
Yeah.
And a game like this, like letting Anthony Richardson sit on the sidelines and watch stuff like this and how Joe is handling being down to a bad team, at least, not a bad defense, but a bad offense, and coming back and scoring a late game touchdown to win your team the game, a divisional matchup. So I think this could do a lot of good for Anthony Richardson because his issues are not things that can't be fixed. It's accuracy, and not necessarily deep accuracy, but it's like the short intermediate passes that should be layups.
Yeah.
And we've heard him talk about it before. He gets too excited when he sees a guy open and just wants to get him the ball and he just fires it. I mean, he's got like one of the strongest arms in the NFL.
Yeah.
So
If you're not accurate with it, though, it don't matter. So
no, it doesn't matter. It's going into the second stand in the in the crowd.
So to get this is kind of your topic that you brought up. You kind of have found a little bit of a trend with what some of the best teams in the league are right now.
Yep.
I'll kind of let you describe it of what maybe your favorite is or really what it is. But I think it's huge because like we've said, you have to have both sides of the ball.
Yep.
You have to play complementary football in order to have winning records and consistently win games. And this is huge.
Mm-hmm.
So
defense is back in the NFL this season. In the past 5-6 years, we have seen an explosion of West Coast offense, dink and dunk passes, east to west, not necessarily defense. It was a lot of points being scored. And we talked about it earlier this year that passing touchdown numbers were down. And I think that's
almost
because
half.
And we talked about how this is partially because of the resurgence of a lot of more teams adopting a too high safety look and just playing that as their base defense and then running blitzes and other coverages out of that. But with teams that are really, we didn't expect to be this good, but even teams that we thought would be good, just not as good on the other side of the ball. Like the Lions defense completely dismantled the Cowboys on Sunday. Even after Hutchinson got hurt, the Cowboys scored 9 points all game. And that was in the fourth quarter when they had guys out. And then you look at the Giants, even though they lost, Cincy, arguably, I don't think anyone would disagree that Cincy has a very, very good offense. When they're all playing well, that offense is top 10 at least.
They put up damn near 40 points against the Ravens.
Exactly.
And the Ravens have a very good defense.
So yes, the Giants, 10 points allowed by that defense late into the fourth quarter. If barring that, besides that last like touchdown run,
the garbage touchdown at the end.
that they could win that game. And then the Steelers, we saw against the Raiders. Did you see that forced fumble that TJ Watt had?
He had two of them.
Line?
He had 2 punch outs.
It's so crazy.
If it wasn't for this, I will say this about the Steelers. If it's not for that defense, TJ Watt,
they might have like 2 wins.
If that. Yeah. If that.
That defense is, that's Steeler football right there.
It is.
That's arguably, a lot of what the Bears like to do too.
Yeah.
But that defense is huge.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, they played the Raiders, but still. And the Packers defense, they've got one of the best secondaries in the NFL, but their defense as a whole was firing on all cylinders against Arizona. Shut them down completely. Yes, Marvin Harrison went out with a concussion, but dude, Packers, really good. And then I already touched on it, the Bears. It goes without saying, this is probably the most complete unit in the NFL, defensive-wise. They do not have a weakness, and they're showing amazing chemistry on the field. Everybody is playing for each other, and it's honestly amazing to watch. And honestly, really, we could go down a list of 5 or 6 more defenses that deserve credit.
We didn't talk about the Vikings. The Vikings are playing very good. I still think the 49ers have a very good defense. And the other thing, to my point, is a lot of these teams that now the Chiefs also have a good defense. I'll give them credit. I think the Bills played very good against the Jets as well. Mm-hmm. A lot of these teams, though, that are really, really playing complementary football with each other, they're all in the NFC.
That's true.
That is our next topic. But I got a little rant about the whole Rodgers thing.
Trades are finally starting to pick back up, man.
I kind of touched on it with the whole body language. I think Aaron Rodgers' body language is terrible.
I would agree.
If Tom Brady,
it's never been good.
If Tom Brady, if Peyton Manning, if someone, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, if any of these guys that did this, they would get criticized. They would get all these horrible things said about. He doesn't care. He's old, retire, all this stuff. Why does he get away with it?
I think, I was going to say, do you think it's just because it's Aaron Rodgers and that's like what's expected of him? That's been him most of his career, so it's like...
Maybe, and I also think everyone's too freaking scared to question him. Like if we're going to if you're going to compare him to some of these greats and some of these, Tom Brady's and the Peyton Mannings of the world...
Why does he get to call out his teammates?
Why does he get to call out his teammates and have no accountability towards himself? I know he kind of said the roughing the passer should have been about, that shouldn't have been called on him and stuff like that. But I don't understand. And then on top of that, the whole the cherry on top was the whole Diva thing of doing all that. And literally the next day, you're on Pat McAfee and you're fucking... Oh, sorry. I sorry.
Listen to this man get animated.
I was a little fired up about this when I saw this. You go on to the Pat McAfee show and you sit there like a little spoiled brat and have Davante Adams come over your shoulder and be like, "Hey, buddy, come here." Like what are we doing? Like you're sitting here blaming all these other guys for your mistakes. Yeah. I didn't hear you take accountability for when you threw 3 interceptions in London, and you probably blamed everything else on your head coach, got him fired.
That's true.
So to me, and then you're gonna sit there the next day after throwing everyone under the bus, even the refs, everything, and then sit there like, "Come on, Davante, like you're back because this has been planned for. I have custom cleats already made for the game. Like, cry me a freaking river."
His hamstring is his
hamstring's fine. Now we know who was making business decisions in LA and why they got rid of him. So to me, I think it's I hope they lose the rest of the year. I hope they get blown out.
They won't.
I know they won't, and I'm sure they'll win some games, and Davante Adams will be fine. And he'll have freaking 25 targets a game because that's what they're gonna do. But to me, I don't understand why he gets special treatment and then is still. This is how I look at it too. The reality of, I think, what Aaron Rodgers is, even after this year, is Aaron Rodgers is going to be known for being really good at throwing Hail Marys, while Tom Brady is going to be known for winning 7 Super Bowls. And Peyton Manning is going to be known for throwing 55 touchdowns in a season and winning a Super Bowl and retiring.
Rodgers is going to be the diva.
Rodgers is going to be known as the diva who had to take retreats when he didn't feel good and doesn't talk to his family, has no personal relationship with anything but himself, maybe Davante Adams. So that doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know why he gets special treatment and is still being compared to all these amazing guys. Done, scene. That's my rant for the week.
That's fair. As a Bears fan, I had to watch his whole career, so I think the talent on the field is undeniable. So I think he deserves to be in that conversation based on his talent.
I agree.
But his personality and how he handles, I guess, not favorable situations, doesn't look good. Not that of a leader. Not at all. And I will say he did. I don't know if he was, because we're in agreement that we really think it was Rodgers that fired Saleh. He did go on Pat McAfee's show after the fact and said, hey, if I don't throw those 3 interceptions, maybe he doesn't get fired. I don't take that with a grain of salt, because I'm sure Rodgers still had say in, I'm sure he has a good relationship with the owner. And so
you're blinded if you don't think he had anything to do with it.
He absolutely did. But this trade, Davante Adams,
it was
Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall fantasy owners should be very, very happy right now, because especially Breece Hall. Breece Hall is going to eat moving forward, and especially with the usage that he got with their new head coach, was it Ulbrich, who was a former defensive guy, linebacker for the 49ers.
Yeah.
So he values running the ball. He knows how powerful running the ball can be, especially being a defensive guy. And so that, with Garrett Wilson getting a lot more one-on-ones, now that you have a future Hall of Famer opposite of you, the Jets could be very, very dangerous. Very dangerous.
I agree, and I'm sure they will. And
Yep.
It's just I just don't understand why this guy gets away with everything. And then Caleb Williams does one thing to something we didn't even know what was said, and he gets slanted. Now I know he's a rookie. I know he's all this. I just don't like the treatment he gets.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's definitely not fair.
Let's judge him on what he does on the field, and let's leave it at that. What he's been putting on the field the past 2 weeks has been crap.
If Rodgers gets a pass, then everybody should get a pass. Because that, honestly, that press conference after their game was disgusting. Where he threw Mike Williams under the bus completely.
Ridiculous.
He didn't take any ownership. Yes, he may have been right, because I am aware that he talked about how Mike Williams was supposed to be running down the red line, which is a line they draw in practice that is 5 yards away from the sideline, that gives the quarterback room on the sideline to throw the ball. But if that's the case, Aaron, you threw the ball to the inside of the field. It was on the inside of the red line. It was not to the outside. So even if that is true, that ball placement was not there. And if it was a back shoulder fade, honestly, Williams doesn't have to slow down, and he catches it. It's a back shoulder fade, catches it. So yeah, I would like to see some more accountability, but after the Jets made this trade for Davante Adams, it was almost a domino effect. Like an hour later, Amari Cooper got traded to the Bills.
I think Amari Cooper makes the Bills
dangerous.
I think
they needed this.
It really
bad.
opens up. This is kind of what we talked about with the Steelers, how I think the Steelers still go out and maybe try to get like a DeAndre Hopkins now that these two guys are done, are off the board. But I think this is what the Bills needed, because their passing game, it is not very good.
No,
it just isn't.
It was a lot, barring just like a Hail Mary, damn near a Hail Mary throw from Josh Allen, like once a game, where he's rolling out to his left or his right, and he just bombs it down the field, and a receiver just happens to catch it.
And it was the one he had against the Jets was a running back.
Yeah.
It was their running back, so it wasn't like.
So imagine plays like that, but like 4 or 5 times a game with Amari Cooper.
Yeah. Well, and
you also have Curtis Samuel, and Shakir is getting healthy, and you still have Keon Coleman. James Cook will be back. Ray Davis played great. He looked really good.
Yeah.
The Bills are scary.
Well, and it's just going to open up everything else for everyone. You know, it's going to open up the slot more. It's going to open up their 2 tight ends. They have 2 really good tight ends, so that will help as well.
They're going to be a good team, and I will say I did not give the Bills credit, but they look good. They looked good before this trade, and now they're going to ascend, and the AFC, really outside of 4 teams, is kind of a weak conference now. It feels weird to say that, but there's been a lot of decline. A lot of decline.
That is our next topic that we were talking about this weekend, or on Monday after some of these games were over this weekend. What do you think is the strongest conference right now? NFC or AFC? I think it's the NFC, because when you look at it, the AFC is very, very top heavy. You have the Chiefs, the Texans.
You've got the division leaders, and then everyone else.
Really. I agree. And maybe you can throw the Steelers in there, but their offense, I don't think their offense can keep up with the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills, or the Texans.
We'll see how they look this Sunday, because Russ will be starting. Yeah. Apparently, he will be starting.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it could change some things. They may move the ball downfield a little bit more, but yeah, outside of the Chiefs, Ravens, Texans, and Bills, Who do you like in that division or in that entire conference? Really?
Yeah,
Seriously.
I agree. And then you look at the NFC, and
You've
you
got
go,
like 8 teams that could realistically they could end up being the 1 seed if they win enough games.
well, and you've got the NFC North alone that has all 4 teams in the playoffs right now. Now I know
5-0, 4-1, and 2 4-2 teams.
I know some of those teams haven't played any division games, so
Yeah.
that will obviously change things.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
to have 4 teams in the same division in the playoffs right now, all over 500, I mean that's a big deal.
You want to hear another stat, dude? Those 4 teams are currently the top 4 in point differential on the year. And on top of that, all 4 teams are the top 4 in turnovers forced per game. So they're all playing offense and they're all playing defense.
Which goes back
That
to our
entire
point,
division.
your point of how the good teams right now are playing complementary football.
Yes. And it's God, the NFC North. Why do the Bears have to be in that division?
Yeah, I know.
It
That sucks for you.
It's a juggernaut, dude. It's incredible.
Well, and then you look at the more teams in the NFC. The Bucks and the Falcons, I think, are very
Yes.
good. Both sitting at 4-2.
49ers,
Both putting up
Seahawks.
points. 49ers are back. I know they're 3-3, but the 49ers will be the 49ers.
Yeah.
Seahawks started 3-0. Geno Smith is leading the league in passing yards. They'll be. I know they've lost 3. Like I said, I think they'll be back to their winning ways because they are a good team. They have good defense. Commanders are playing very good as well.
Don't count out the Eagles either.
Don't count out the
They've been
Eagles.
hurt. They've been hurt a lot.
And I know they're kind of going. They barely beat the Brown, but AJ Brown was back.
Yeah.
Devontae Smith had a good game. Saquon Barkley's still very good. They still have, I think, good pieces on defense. They'll figure it out. So I just think the NFC as a whole is more of a juggernaut of there are a lot of different teams that could get in at the end of the year, and the seeding could all be jumbled like we've talked about. Compared to the AFC, to where it's like it's either going to be the Texans, Chiefs, Ravens, or Bills.
Realistically, you look at the AFC and you know it's going to be one of those 4 teams that make it. And at least 2 of the, well, not at least, it'll be 2 of those teams in the AFC Championship game. There's no discussion. There's really, I don't think the Chargers are making it deep. The Jets, maybe. That is the only team that I'll throw in because, yes, their defense is good. They need to fix their run defense. That's the one thing. Bring Hassan Reddick back. That helps a lot.
Yeah.
So
you would
see
think
what happens with
that, bringing in Devontae Adams, Hassan Reddick is looking like,
what the hell?
What are we doing?
I don't know. So yes, the Jets are the only other team that I would throw in with that, but outside of that, it's really nothing. Like I don't know. I'm not scared of any other teams other than those. And then you look at the NFC. So I really think yes, the NFC is loaded.
And they are playing defense. They are playing offense. They are scoring points.
Feels
so
weird to say that. And
it
then,
does.
Yeah. But going back to the trades, who do you think is the next person to be traded? Because there are a couple of names.
I think DeAndre Hopkins is up there.
That's another one. Yeah. You think the Chiefs move for him?
I think either the Chiefs or the Steelers maybe
That could be a
possibly
good one,
go
too.
for
I don't know,
Devontae-
though,
or
'cause
not
him and-
Devontae Adams.
Him and Pickens play very similar.
Yeah, that's true.
Pickens would actually be my comparison to Hopkins.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but that could work.
You need something though.
Yeah,
You need talent.
because realistically, it's just Pickens and
I'd maybe
Freiermuth.
put Freiermuth.
That's
and
it.
even Fryer, I mean, it's not like in order to get your tight ends open, you've got to be able to run the ball and you've got to be able to have guys on the outside to, really focus on the deep crosses or whatever it might be. But yeah, no, I've heard Stafford.
That one. So think about this: if the Rams keep losing, why would you realistically, if you're losing this much, and you have a young roster but an old quarterback, wouldn't it make sense if you keep losing these games, even if you lose next week, do you start looking into moving Stafford to a team like the Dolphins, who need a quarterback and have the roster to win?
Yeah.
Because the Rams, if they really are, we'll see what happens when Cooper Kupp and Puka come back, but they could be in a position to draft a quarterback next year, one of the top quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And this is not as deep as this past year, but this is another deep QB class. Arguably, it will be as deep, if not deeper, than the one with Archie Manning, because after Manning, I think that really falls off. So we'll see. I think the Dolphins would be good with Stafford, though.
That's a great option.
And Tua's supposed to come back in week 8. I don't believe
I
it.
think Stafford. I know I've been an advocate for Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
The Dolphins, and I'll continue to say it. The Dolphins are one player, one position away from being a top, throwing them in that AFC. They're ready to compete, and
It just happens to be the most important position.
it does. and you could pay all your receivers. You could do all these types of things. And if you don't have a quarterback, this is also why I think we're seeing a lot of teams overpay for quarterbacks. And people are like, why'd you do that? Good example.
quarterback league.
Trevor Lawrence. If Trevor Lawrence wasn't on that team, they are god awful.
Even worse.
I mean, so
Because Lawrence played good this past weekend.
and
This was not his fault.
defense is terrible. His secondary is terrible. His running backs are hurt. I mean, so this is what I mean. The quarterback is just so important.
I agree.
And they're being overpaid probably, but if it wasn't for that, who are you going to go with?
I think this just means that the NFL needs to raise the salary cap, because at this point, QB salaries are so inflated compared to other positions. I think the highest paid cornerback in the league, Jalen Ramsey, is making almost half of what Trevor Lawrence is making.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence is at like 55 a year. Jalen Ramsey's 24. It's crazy to me. Jeez.
Well, and as the NFL too, I mean, those are your moneymakers.
Yeah.
Like if teams don't have, like, that's why we say on these primetime games, they don't have a good quarterback.
Nope.
Why? Who's gonna, like, even like this week the I know we have who is it? The Broncos and the Saints. A rookie quarterback going up against, I mean, maybe just
Two rookies.
Spencer Rattler. So
versus...
that has a little bit of storyline to it, but that game could be 7-10 going into the fourth quarter.
I think
on a Thursday night for a primetime game.
I think it will be too, and that's
It's just and even the Patriots Jaguars, like
that one. I don't know. It's two bad teams.
Both teams suck, so it could be competitive, but competitive for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, that's true.
Two teams that are terrible.
Lots of bad football being played.
Yeah, so I mean, that's just kind of how I look at it, to where it comes with that. But the NFL, I mean, as salary cap increase could help that.
I do think I think it needs to happen, really, because you're seeing a resurgence of the running back position too, and they are criminally underpaid. You're telling me that Derrick Henry and Saquon don't deserve at least $20 million a year right now?
Yeah.
After, like, the way they're playing and what they're doing for those offenses, take them away from both offenses. Realistically, how many games are they winning right now? The Ravens, especially.
Well,
He's had so much to do with victories for them.
I don't think the Ravens beat the Bengals.
No.
Without
they
Derrick
might not
Henry.
even beat the Commanders.
Yeah.
Like, they might be like 1-5, 2-4.
Yeah.
Yes, I love Lamar, but any quarterback needs a running game. It can't all be on his shoulders unless your name is Tom Brady. And that's it. That is the end of, because you look back, I mean, yes, maybe Peyton Manning. That's another one that I would take. But Rodgers has, he had Aaron Jones, Eddie Lacy was great. Every great quarterback has had a good running game. Big Ben, he had Jerome Bettis, he had Le'Veon Bell. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And so salary cap, players need to be paid what they're worth. And it sucks that it's in a position like this. But I don't know. I do think this next part, Jerry Jones threatening a reporter's job for asking questions about the Cowboys. What is he doing? This is why you don't have an 83-year-old GM. By the way, I'm so glad that they lost on his birthday the way they did against the Lions. That was perfect. Yeah. Icing on the cake after this offseason that they had and everything that he said. But a reporter was asking him. It was a blatant
normal questions.
And honestly, while we're at it, let's just play the clip.
It's not your job. Your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job. Or I'll get somebody else to ask these questions, man. I'm not kidding you. You're not going to figure out what the team is doing right or wrong. If you are, or any 5 or 10 like you, you need to come to this meeting I'm going to today. There are 32 teams here. You're geniuses.
I mean, it was normal questions. He was asking normal questions about reporting about your local team that you get paid to report on. And to me, it just also shows that he's a grumpy old man who doesn't like when people question him because he thinks he knows everything.
Like taking accountability.
No, he doesn't, and I don't think he ever will. And I don't think he has to because of his age and because of just what he is.
He literally said, I'll get someone else in here to ask the questions. I'm not kidding. That's what he said.
What are you doing?
And the only thing the reporter asked was he questioned his offseason moves, which is that not a fair question? Because
for how the season's going,
Jerry, a few weeks ago, alluded to the fact that all of this stuff happening is because of him.
Yeah.
So why are you getting so upset when a reporter brings that up again?
Yeah.
I mean, do you really want to be asked about the game you just had?
Well,
do you really want to answer questions about why your team got blown out by damn near 40 points?
And it's the classic saying
at home.
It's my classic saying of people don't get defensive unless they know that the other person they're talking to is right.
That's true.
Getting defensive.
I would agree with that.
He's getting defensive because he knows what everyone is saying, what these guys are saying, even in his hometown reporters, not just national media. He knows what they are saying and what they are seeing is what the truth is, and he doesn't like it because he knows he is responsible for it. End. So
Poor Jerry,
let's get into this week though. Let's run these fast. Let's go through them. Week 7.
A lot of good games again.
Broncos Saints kind of touched on it.
This one sucks.
This one sucks. I am picking the Broncos.
Okay.
I think Bo Nix comes in. I think coaching wise they're better.
Yeah.
I don't know if I fully trust Rattler. I know he was able to put some points up against the Bucks, and that could go into some confidence. I like the run game I know the Bucks had a really big run game. I like Williams for the Broncos to be able to run the ball very well. I like Bo Nix. I like the receivers. Defense I think will be able to hold off long enough. And Sean Payton I think is the better coach. So I'm going to go with the Broncos for this one.
So I got screwed over last week because when I picked the Giants, I was assuming that Malik Neighbors would play. And I do think that the Giants win that game if Neighbors plays. But this one, I don't know. Because Surtain got hurt.
Yeah.
And
concussion too,
so it's a short week. If he doesn't
Olave
play,
is also out too with a concussion. Because he got
see
a
that
concussion.
balances it then.
Yeah.
And then I'm taking the Broncos. But my big thing was going to be if Olave and their whole offense is healthy, I think Rattler has enough. Yes, their offensive line is very hurt right now. But he's still got Kamara, still got Olave, still got Jawan Johnson, still got Rashid Shaheed. But even with Surtain out, the Broncos have a very good defense.
Yeah.
Very good defense. And I like Bo Nix. They almost came back against the Chargers last week.
Yeah.
So I'll take the Broncos too. I would agree with that. Solely based off of Olave being out and Surtain also being out, but not, if it were the other way around, if Olave was in and Surtain was still out, I would take the Saints.
Yeah.
Really would.
Next one, London game. Last London game of the year, Patriots-Jaguars.
I think this could be a scary
I'm going to go with my
game.
team.
I am too.
The Jaguars suck. They've been playing really bad. Their defense is really bad. Drake Maye looked good passing the ball.
He did.
Making plays with his legs. That's what I expect him to do. I think they're going to tell him to do that more because that's what he's going to have to do. I'm going to go with the Patriots.
I agree. I do think the Jaguars lose this game and then Doug Peterson gets left in London. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
And because they stayed in London. They played last week. They stayed and practiced that whole week. But I like the Patriots. I liked what I saw from the Patriots against a great defense.
Yeah.
That 3 touchdowns against a defense like that doesn't happen on accident.
Yeah.
So it's hard to believe that Drake Maye won't replicate this against the Jaguars, a much worse defense.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I do think this is a high-scoring game because I don't know that the Patriots defense has enough to stop the Jaguars offense because they have guys on that offense.
Oh, yeah. And Trevor's Trevor's good.
He has been playing very good. It's not his fault that they're playing or that their record is as bad as it is.
Yeah.
It is, honestly, it's anything but him. Because he's playing, he's not turning the ball over really, and he's throwing touchdowns. He's consistent. He's accurate.
Yeah.
But, outside of a few plays, I know that Bills game was not good. But I'm taking the Patriots too. I think they win this game.
Next one, I'm going to label this one as our game of the week.
I would agree.
Lions-Vikings.
Texans and Packers is another one, but this one, divisional matchup.
There's a couple good ones. I really like this game, though. Lions are very, very good. Vikings, very, very good. Defense, very good on both sides. Could be maybe a little bit more low-scoring than people would think, but the offenses, I think, are going to explode. I know the Vikings also just traded for Akers. I don't know if he's going to play.
He will. Apparently, Aaron Jones is going to be out, so I think he will.
So then he will.
And he has familiarity with that offense, too, because he was on the Vikings last year.
Yeah, and Akers, I know the time that he was playing for the Texans when Mixon and their other running back was hurt.
Dameon Pierce.
He came in and was able to play really good. That's probably why he got traded, because he was like, dang, I'm behind 2 really good guys right now. Like, I got a lot to offer. So that will be a great matchup to watch. But this game's going to be awesome. Lions are so much fun to watch. Vikings have been so much fun to watch.
Yep.
Actually, my bet of the week is coming from this game.
Yeah.
So, but yes, great game. Looking forward to it. Yep. I'm going to label it as our game of the week.
This next game, I think, is the highest scoring game of the week by far. I think Seahawks and Falcons is going to be a shootout. And the Seahawks have a really good secondary. Don't get me wrong, but I think this is the Kyle Pitts game. I really do, because the Seahawks are bad against tight ends.
He's been playing pretty good.
He has been playing.
He's had I think he had.
He's not dropping balls. He's getting targets. I think over the last 2 weeks,
no
he's
touchdowns, but he's getting yards.
Those will come though. Those will come, and I do think he could have 1 or 2 this game. But I think over the past 2 weeks, he's had like 10 catches on 13 targets.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
No, not bad.
Those are tight end 1 numbers.
And this is what we said. Kyle Pitts, Kirk Cousins was gonna find him. So next game, Texans Packers. This is what you just said. This is also going to be a very good game.
This game's going to be awesome.
2 really good offenses. I know they're a little banged up. 2 really good defenses. but a lot of points are going to be scored. CJ Stroud is awesome. Jordan Love has
Played really good last week.
He's had some little slip-ups of some stupid things that he's done.
Yeah.
But I think, they're running the ball good.
I still think he's not fully healthy. I really don't. I think he rushed himself back. I think now he's probably as close as he can be to 100% after he hurt his knee, but it's a good game. I don't know who wins this. Who do you think? We're not picking it, but
I mean, it's in Lambeau, so I might go with the home team just because Nico Collins is hurt and but it's so. I mean, I'm happy we're not picking it because I really don't know.
This is a toss up.
It's going to be a toss up, but it's going to be a great game. This is one I have circled that I will probably watch the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Next one, Eagles Giants. I don't know. This is another hard one. Eagles, I don't know what's going on with their head coach right now.
That guy's a clown. I'm sorry, dude.
The Giants are playing good defense. They were able to hold the Bengals to not a lot of points if it wasn't for that garbage touchdown at the end. So this game could also be very competitive when Giants are home. Eagles have a lot of turmoil going on.
Neighbors goes again. That concussion must have been really bad.
Yeah.
He's been out like 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Jeez, because he got hurt on a Thursday night, right? That was Thursday night?
It was Thursday night.
And then a week ago, he was out again. And then this week, he might be out. That's like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Out.
Next one, Super Bowl rematch of the past couple of years, Chiefs 49ers.
How is this not a primetime game?
I agree.
Really? We get the
this.
Chargers and Cardinals on Monday night?
This should have been, I think this should have been the Sunday night game over the Jets and Steelers.
I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, no, Chiefs 49ers, they always play very, very good. Two very good teams right now.
49ers are getting healthy.
49ers defense looks good. The Chiefs, they're going to have to, I think this is the real true test with all the guys that they have lost to go out and go, okay, Mahomes, let's see if you really are the sole reason why this offense is going.
If the Chiefs win this game handily, I am running out of things to say about the Chiefs. I was already out of things to say about the Chiefs after last year's playoff run and what Mahomes did that whole time. And their defense is so good.
I agree.
Their defense is so good. And Jordan Mason's banged up for the 49ers. So
I agree.
I don't know. Kareem Hunt is just having a resurgence again. Every time he comes back, he just produces, dude.
I agree.
Jeez.
I agree. Sunday night game, though, Jets and Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with the Jets. I know I had my whole rant about the Jets. I still think they're good. I don't think the Steelers are very good on offense. I think Russell Wilson, in my opinion, hurts their offense more than it helps because Justin Fields was able to run the ball very well.
Their O-line's hurt, too, and Justin Fields makes up for that with
exactly.
his legs.
And Russell Wilson's not going to be able to do what Justin Fields
35 now?
Yeah, we're old.
We are so old.
I remember when he was a rookie winning Super Bowls with Seattle. But yeah, no, I think the Jets take this one. Steelers offense, I think, is going to take a step back if Russell Wilson starts. Their defense will make some plays like they always do, but the Jets will be able, I think, to overcome that.
Yeah, I think I have the Jets too. Devontae Adams is making his debut. The Jets might be looking to make a statement, and it's at the Steelers, but I don't know. Purely based off of an offensive standpoint, the Steelers don't have the best run game, and that kind of plays into the Jets' weakness. It helps them because the Jets don't have a great run defense, and their pass defense is great.
Yeah.
Very good. Pickens probably won't be doing much unless they can scheme him open.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's
last two Monday night, got a doubleheader Monday night. Ravens Buccaneers. This game could also been the game of the week. Ravens,
there's a lot of good ones.
There's a lot of good ones.
This,
it could be very high scoring. These are two teams that know how to put up points. Buccaneers are at home. They put up a lot of points. Ravens defense is good, so that will play into a factor. Ravens running the ball, that could also kill a lot of clock.
Derrick Henry is so good.
And I know Tampa Bay let up a ton of points to Spencer Rattler, so you never know, but this is a very, very exciting game. One that, it's not an in-division, but these are two teams that are going to make runs, I think, in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So for whichever you're looking at it, it's a good gauge to go, this is where we're at against a playoff caliber team. Great game. Lamar's going to perform like he does. Baker, I think, is going to play great and have another, probably 250, 300-yard game passing to Godwin and the guys he's got. So we will see. But second Monday night game, Chargers, Cardinals. I'm going to take the Chargers. I'm taking the Ravens for the first one and the Chargers for the second one.
So we're in agreement on all 5 games then.
Okay.
These are the picks that I had. I think the Chargers they're not great.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't terrify you, but they're playing clean football.
I think they're better
They're
than
playing
the
Jim
Cardinals.
Harbaugh football.
Yeah.
And yes, I think with Marvin Harrison is out, who does the Cardinals have to throw the ball? I think Trey McBride, that's
Trey
it.
McBride,
That's it.
and then you've got,
Yeah, Michael Wilson's okay. I think
they've been able to run the ball pretty good with Connors.
Yeah.
So that's been a little bit of a
Chargers
plus
have
for
a good
them.
defense, though.
Chargers have a good defense. They can run the ball.
Yeah.
Herbert, I think, has enough to pass the ball to against a team like the Cardinals.
Herbert's been having a really down year, which I think
we thought this was going to happen.
I thought it was going to be because of his injury. We don't know for sure that it's because of his foot injury, but I think it could be playing a part because he doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
And it's not like he doesn't have guys to throw the ball to. I like McConkey a lot. Quentin Johnston has actually been playing very good football, not as of recent. He just hasn't been getting the targets. But yeah, I think, and I like their running backs. J.K. Dobbins is having a resurgence. I feel so happy for him after the injuries that he's had in the past. To see him come back and do this on an offense and be the lead back. So yeah, I think the Chargers win this game. I don't think it's necessarily close. I really don't.
Yeah.
But it's the NFL. It's unpredictable. So it's just as possible that we could be 0-for-5 this week. And I'll have a losing record after all that stuff.
Speaking of that, to wrap it up, this has been a little bit longer episode. Bets of the week. I have Sam Darnold over 244 passing yards.
It's kind of high. It's a high line for him.
It is, but like I said, I think Lions are going to put up points.
Yeah.
Vikings will have to
match.
Jefferson could also have a huge day because
with Aaron Jones out too. I think they will have to.
They're going to have to. So I really love Sam Darnold this week. I was between a couple players, but I really like Sam Darnold against the Lions offense that we know is going to put up points regardless how good the Vikings defense is. Vikings are going to have to keep up. Like you said, Aaron Jones is out. Jefferson could explode as well. Lions secondary is a little banged up, and they've got a lot of young guys back there. So I think Sam Darnold goes for I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for 300 this game.
And we didn't have this game listed just because I don't think it's going to be very competitive. But the Commanders have an all-you-can-eat buffet at the secondary, and so my pick is Deontay Johnson over 66.5 receiving yards. I think that's too low for the game that's about to be had. I mean, the Commanders obviously win this game. I don't think it's even close, but Deontay Johnson has been playing like a wide receiver one over these past few weeks with Dalton. And I think the trend continues. I think the Commanders they're really, really bad in the secondary. And Deontay Johnson has taken advantage of better secondaries over the past few weeks. So I think this one's free money, really. You pair these two together, more free money.
Yeah.
Hopefully Sam Darnold can produce. I think he will. I like that pick just because, like we said, their running backs are out. They're going to have to put up points. They're going to have to pass the ball a lot because the Lions are not letting their foot off the gas, even if they're up by 40. We saw that last Sunday.
They will not.
It's incredible.
Well,
such a good
that
team.
will do it for this episode. I know, like I said, it was a little bit longer. We appreciate you guys
First
listening.
F-bomb of the year for Dawson.
I'm sorry.
Give a round of applause.
Before we came in here, I told you I was a little fiery about
Family
that.
friendly, by the way.
But yeah, don't forget, follow us on social media, Twitter, all that good stuff. And we will see you guys next time.
Yes, sir. It's been real, guys.